Hello, welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. Today is October 27th, Tuesday, 2020. There are elections next week in the United States, 1 week from today. There are elections in Tanzania, I believe, tomorrow. Here, there are also elections in Bosnia-Herzegovina. There are probably lots of elections all around the world, as there always are. I just wonder how the elections will be different this year as regards to the pandemic and all the underlying stress that many of us may have been feeling. I just noticed as I sat down, it's so quiet, and I had turned off the heater yesterday, and I think I forgot to turn it back on. So I'm grateful that somebody in my family did, or maybe they didn't. It's funny. Anyways, I don't really know what to talk about today. I think my computer's trying to restart and tell me to do all these funky things. Don't restart in the middle of the show. I think I like to go with things that are really present for me, things that are really happening right now, instead of trying to talk about topics that are not really on my mind. But maybe that's a good skill as well. But what I'm going to talk about today is really what I'm feeling right now. It's just this. I think I get bummed out sometimes. I think I feel just kind of down and sad when I think, when I tell myself the story that life is about maintaining things, that life isn't about exploring and learning, it's about doing and teaching all the time. I laugh, and when teaching is about, they say teaching is mostly about learning as well, right? So you're teaching something, you're learning it as well, and then you learn it, you teach it, and this kind of, this intricate link. I think maybe sometimes I get bored with doing the same thing over and over again. And I can imagine I'm not the only one. Are you out there thinking, how often you get stuck in maybe the monotony of life, where it feels monotonous, just doing the same thing over and over again. And then you want to go out and try something drastically new. But sometimes we fear doing that because there's not a lot of return on that. I think a lot of times in society, we are rewarded for doing the same thing over and over again. If you think about a lot of jobs, most jobs, they have some flexibility in learning new things, but I think a lot of the underlying nature of most jobs is to just do the same thing over and over, or slight variation on the same thing. So if you're a salesperson, you go out and sell, and you sell the same product, and you sell it to maybe different people, but sometimes the same people. And that's what you do. You sell the same thing over and over again. If you're CEO, you manage the same people. Maybe, a variation, some new people, but you're still managing the same people. It's the same products, it's the same business model. It's kind of the same thing, again, with slight variation. It's maybe just being like a steward, where they're just kind of shepherding these different things. I don't know. I don't know why it bores me so much. I don't know why it just kind of like deflates me. I like to explore. I like to learn new things. I like to learn things that are sometimes drastically new, that are really far outside the wheelhouse per se, and I don't know. I sometimes struggle to communicate that to others. Again, maybe this is not uncommon. One of the reasons I'm putting this out there is just to hear your perspective as well, and to see how, what you're thinking and feeling as it relates to this idea of routine. So for me, I don't know what your situation has been like during this pandemic of 2020, but I've been in the same house for about 8 months now. Is it 8 months? And haven't stayed at a hotel, haven't traveled anywhere, like haven't moved anywhere. I've same house 8 months in a row. For me, that's been a really big change, and I'm seeing the same people day in, day out, for 8 months straight, not seeing other people, interacting with people on the internet a little bit, And maybe that's where I've seen some variety in meeting new people or interacting with new people and going in drastic different directions sometimes. But I don't know. I think perhaps it's a balance. So, I say almost everything in life is a balance. Perhaps it's a balance between, what do they call it in computer engineering? Exploration versus exploitation. So like going out and looking for new things versus using the things that we already have. And I think sometimes I have a tendency to lean towards exploration, whereas society and becoming successful in society often means doing exploitation the most. Not exploiting humans so much, but maybe that's not the right word, but leveraging something that we already have, leveraging a skill that we already have, leveraging a company that we already have, leveraging a product that we already have, something that we have or that we already do, and just doing it over and over and over and over, just repeating it. I have a friend that does a lot of public speaking, and he says, you think you go into public speaking, you're going to give all these talks, but really you give the same talk over and over and over and over again to different audiences. And the audiences really aren't that different most of the time. So it's kind of just like doing the same thing over and over. I wonder how many jobs actually have people do really different things for the job. I don't know. Maybe there are business models out there for people who like to do very different things. But even then, like say, for example, say you're a muralist or a person who makes sand castles or a person who does sidewalk chalk art. You're making something, and each time perhaps it's a different thing that you make, but it's still using the same modality. So if you're sidewalk chalk, you still use sidewalk chalk, or if it's sand castle, you still use sand. And you're still, maybe it's not a castle every time. Maybe it's an animal or a castle or a word or something that you're using. But it disappears, and then the next time you go out, you do the same thing pretty much. Same materials, same, kind of work process, things like this. I don't know. Do any of you fight with this kind of routine or this feeling like you're forced into a routine that you don't necessarily want to be in? I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent. I can imagine being a parent. Now, the benefit of being a parent is that the kid changes a lot over time, but it's still the same kid. It's still basic routines that are kind of going over and over again. And maybe that's a way to look at it when it comes to managing a business or managing a routine or managing a product or things like this, is that it's still the same thing, but it does go through big changes. So think about having a baby. A baby is still, let's name it Steve. Why not? So you have a baby named Steve. And Steve is still Steve when he's 1 month old versus when he's 12 months old, 1 year versus 3 years versus 7 years versus 18 years. It's still Steve, but it's a very different version of Steve, but still the same version. So maybe that's how we, again, kind of not cope. that's showing my cards. That's showing my sadness and kind of frustration with it. Maybe that's how we find the exploration or find the new in the old, is that things do change. So even a product, like you look at Facebook. I look at Facebook and I go, Facebook has been doing the same thing since 2006. Like Zuckerberg has been managing the same company since 2006. But in reality, a lot has changed within it. The core essence is still the same. It's still a platform where people go on and they put their photo and they put their name, and people friend each other and defriend each other and post on walls and things like this. That's still the same. I don't think that's changed since 2006. But Facebook bought WhatsApp, and Facebook bought Instagram, and even Facebook itself, Messenger wasn't a thing back then. Marketplace wasn't a thing back then. There's lots of different things. Interfering in elections wasn't really a big thing back then. So there's a lot of things. Facebook's in so many markets now. It's all across the world. So that didn't exist when it first started. When it first started, it was at Harvard and a few other elite colleges in the US. So maybe there's something to that, in that we're doing the same thing, but it's not as similar as we think it is. I don't know. There's still part of me that goes, yeah, but sometimes I just want to do something drastically different. Sometimes you just want to go be like a fitness instructor and then go be a computer programmer and then go work at a gas station or work at like a liquor store. Sometimes I just want to mix it up because I want to see and learn from the different experiences in life and try to put it all together. I switched degrees in college. I switched from electrical engineering to international studies. And one of the main reasons I chose international studies was that I was allowed to make it an interdisciplinary study, that I was allowed to create my own major in a way. And I was able to take courses from political science and anthropology and speech communication and like economics, game theory economics, international business, international marketing, and really blend all these different genres together. And I loved it. And maybe I still have that drive within me to do that. I think a lot of us like to focus. A lot of us like to be, okay, I'm going to go to medical school and I'm going to focus on this specific dermatology, perhaps, right? Now, in medical school, you get somewhat of a broad approach, but then you focus really intensely on one thing, and that's kind of your thing. That's your expertise. Other people go into engineering, and then they focus very strictly on a certain type of engineering. Other people go into different fields. It could be dance. It could be many other fields, but pretty much stay within it. I don't know. I think I'm kind of at a loss in a way. I think sometimes people listen to podcasts like this and they want to hear answers. They want to know what's going on, what's the truth, what can I do? They want to have solutions. And I think even with this podcast, I'm trying to explore different things, not necessarily trying to give you the one solution. And maybe that means some of you like this because it's not me sitting here telling you what the truth is. Maybe sometimes it comes off that way. Maybe sometimes I give the impression that I'm telling you, oh, this is how the world works. I don't know. I think there's so much to learn about this world. And I was just talking with a friend today, and she goes, oh, I said, I said I was feeling stressed, and I started to feel relaxed. She said, oh, what do you do? I said, well, at first I said I surrender. And she said, surrender to what? I said, I don't know. And I said, but then the second thing that made me feel more relaxed, I think, was just answering the question, how do I feel right now? Oh, maybe I feel thirsty. Yeah, I feel thirsty. I brought this glass of water, but I haven't started to drink it yet. Okay, I feel a little nervous that I'm speaking to the camera and I've been saying I don't know if the other people care or if they're interested. I feel a little less rushed right now. I think I felt rushed a few seconds ago, but now I'm sitting down into it a little more. I feel worried and grateful that the heater's still on, but annoyed that it is making a lot of noise. So I'm going to turn it off once again, and then I will be right back. And I hope I will turn the heater back on. And so I said, I told her, I said, yeah, so I asked myself the question, how do I feel right now? And I answer it. And then she goes, well, you're good at answering how you feel. You're good at saying how you feel. I'm not good at it. I don't know how I feel. And I said, well, I'm not, I may give you the impression that I'm good at it or that I know how I'm feeling, but I think it's just through practice that I've become more comfortable at guessing. I don't really know how I'm feeling. If you notice when, I asked myself that question, I was kind of scanning, searching, and then I just said something out loud. I don't know if it's true. It's the swirl inside. I'm definitely thirsty. Hold on one second. Thirsty, mindful of drinking and swallowing on a microphone, not trying to make too many loud gulp noises. But I think, I guess just exploring and not knowing what the answer is and just trying to go with it and then see what happens. I think maybe this is a challenge that some of us have, is looking at the world and, like my friend did, thinking that everyone else has it figured out, that they know exactly what they're doing, how to make money, how to be successful, how to have a loving relationship, how to look good, how to feel good, how to do all these things. And I think most of us are just winging it. Most of us are just trying things and see what happens, and try some more things and see what happens, and try some more things and see what happens. But I think especially when we're looking at other people, especially on the internet, where images can be so curated and edited, that we can think that, oh, this person is just perfect. This person knows exactly what they're doing. But I think the deep reality is very few of us have any idea what's going on. I talk about maintenance, I talk about that, but I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. Maybe I as a person who can overthink, like right now I'm sniffing and going, by shutting off the heater, did I let the gas into the room? Am I now screwing up the room? No, it's okay. As a person who can overthink, and I'm sure many of you out there do as well, I think we can overthink that other people are certain and confident in their behaviors, whereas many of us aren't. We're not. We're just trying things. As one friend said to me, she's like, I'm tired of giving people evil genius credit. I love it because it's like, people aren't that smart. They don't. People, others, but me as well. Like, we don't have this grandmaster plan. We're just kind of bumbling through life and hoping that things work. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I imagine some of you do as well. Looking at least from my parents have been married my whole life. They've been married, 40 something years now. And I think I can put the pressure on myself, like, they knew it all along. They had this all planned out for 40 something years. No, they didn't. It took me until like this year, a couple of years ago, where I was like, wait, what? That wasn't the plan? Like, you were just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happened? Oh, okay. Like, obviously when people get married, I think the intent is to have, lifelong, but my dad having a career for so long at one company, it was working for him, and so he just went with it. Oh. So, I think both we can get the impression that other people have this huge plan, that they know exactly what they're doing, that they're just executing on the plan the whole time. And we can give other people the impression that we're just executing on the plan. I know I put this pressure on myself a lot when I'm talking about work or talking about business or talking about many things on the internet, especially when it comes to like companies and stuff. I can try to show everyone that I've got it all figured out. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it at this time. I'm going to do it with these people. Boom, boom, boom. And this is going to be the plan. And that's not true. And so I think I can falsely give the impression to some people. Some people read right through it. I had a friend who what do you call it? Unsubscribed from my email list because she's like, you say you're going to send an email twice a week. You say you do this all the time and then you don't do it. So I'm reading right through your, oh, this is my plan that I'm going to execute because I don't think you're actually going to do it. And it frustrates me that you don't actually do it. I was like, oh. So some people can read right through it, but I think a lot of people is like, oh, he knows what he's doing. He's trying to hurt me, or he's got his whole business figured out, or he's got his whole emotional thing figured out. It's like, the reality is no. I think I'm just afraid very often to show people the internal conflict that I have, thinking that the other person doesn't have internal conflict or that the other person doesn't want to receive that internal conflict. I've been told in the past, especially in romantic relationships, like, I don't want to hear what you're thinking. I don't want to hear what, you're debating between. I just want to know the answer. And so in many ways, I felt like really hurt by that statement. And I shut up. I said, okay, I'll just tell you what my answer is. But I rarely know what the answer is, so I just don't say anything. I wish we would show more of our internal conflict with each other. More of this exploration, this search, instead of the answer, the question more than the answer. What questions are we asking ourselves right now? That's what I'm really interested to hear. What questions are you asking yourself right now as it relates to romance or finance or politics or profession or health or where to live or how to live? I'm super curious about those questions. I don't necessarily need to know the answers. One of my favorite games to watch is Jeopardy. For those of you who aren't in the United States, you may not know what Jeopardy is. Those in the US probably do. But if you don't, Jeopardy is a TV show where the host gives the answers and the participants are supposed to respond with a question. And I just learned, I think it was last year when they did a special about the show and game shows in general, that this came about because there was a lot of suspicion in the game shows back in the 60s and 70s that the hosts were giving the answers to the participants, kind of like rigging and cheating the game. And so I think it was Merv Griffin's wife suggested, I think Merv Griffin created Jeopardy. I think it was his wife who suggested, well, why don't you just give them the answers? And so what they do is they give the answers and the person's supposed to come up with the correct question. I love it. I guess I just really love the idea behind a question is that many times a real proper question has uncertainty under it. Not knowing what the other person will say, not knowing what the real answer is, what the real truth is. It's more about the search than it is about the find, I guess. The discovery. It's more about the search than discovery. Stephen Colbert has a wonderful quote on this. With an interview with John Dickerson, I believe. I can't remember what the quote was. It was something about enjoying the search more than enjoying the answer. Because sometimes when you find something, then you just have to repeat it over and over again. But when you're in the exploration, the search, there's a certain energy to it. I don't know. And this could be different for a lot of people. I don't know. I'm still curious. What kind of questions are you asking yourself right now? What internal conflict do you have? Gosh, I wish people would share internal conflict more. It'd make me feel a lot more comfortable that I'm not alone. I think we can go around this world thinking that we have so much conflict in our heads and that everyone else is just kind of operating totally fine. No conflict there. There's certain yes or certain no. Um, when I really think about that, I laugh because so many people actually seem very conflicted to me. I think hypocrisy is conflict. Um, saying one thing but doing the other thing, but then trying to reconcile the two. How many people you ask, oh, what do you want for dinner? And they go, oh, I don't know. Maybe they're conflicted. Maybe they want the pizza, but they want to be healthy, but they really want the pizza, but they want to be healthy, but they want to try this new place that just opened. But they're trying to monitor their finances and they don't want to spend too much money. So they got 4 different things going on in their own head. And maybe they say pizza. And you're like, wow, they're very certain on what they want. They know what they want. It's like, no, they just kind of guessed and said something. Because maybe they don't really know for sure. Gosh. I think one of the biggest challenges with conflict is just letting it stay in conflict, not trying to resolve it. Whew, that's a challenge. Recognizing that 2 sides disagree, it could be 2 sides within ourselves disagree, and just letting them be, holding them together. I've talked before about this. I think I've talked before about this idea of the moral case for superposition. I think that's what I call it. But this idea that nothing is good or bad, everything is good and bad, but thinking makes it good or bad. And then as we, try to separate things into yes or no, this or that, good or bad, sometimes we force it, but in reality, it's both. This feels very esoteric right now. I don't know. I think one of the hardest things for us to do is just to say, I don't know, and to still do something anyways. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what she'll think. I don't know what he'll think. I don't know what he wants. I don't know what they want. I don't know what they'll say. Okay, let's do it and see what happens. What's one thing that you want to do, you think you want to do right now, right? Because it can almost always be in conflict. What's one thing you think you want to do right now, but you're so worried about what people will say or they won't say, or they will do or they won't do? Who knows? Anyways, I hope that this word voice exploration of exploration helped you a bit kind of realize that none of us may actually know what we're doing, but we can really give a good impression that we do. And sometimes when we give the impression that we don't know what we're doing, people think we're ignorant or dumb or indecisive. I think sometimes we're just being honest, showing that there's so many things outside of our control and our knowledge, and just one step at a time, one breath at a time, we keep moving forward or backward or sideways. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the flow, and looking forward to hearing what questions you are asking yourself right now. Take care, y'all.